The final season of our F1 2021 career mode is here. Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 2021 career mode. There you see our new ride. We have switched teams to the BWT Mercedes F1 team here for this final season, and that's not the only change here. Now Aston Martin has actually rebranded to the BMW racing team here, as you can see that beautiful livery on your screen. So a rebrand for Mercedes as well as Aston Martin, who switches to BMW. But we are very excited to get this final season underway, as we are going to jump right into it here with the driver moves. You can see Sebastian Vettel replaces myself at McLaren. Lance Stroll goes back to Aston Martin. Latifi goes to Haas, replacing Stroll. Nobuharu Matsushita is going to head to Williams to replace Nicholas Latifi. And what's unfortunate is we've made this bold move to Mercedes after being a nice convincing session from Toto Wolff to head to the Mercedes F1 team, thinking he can take us to the top after Lewis Hamilton retirement. But unfortunately, you can see Mercedes is fifth on the R&D. We have got some work to do in what is only a 10 race season here in this final season of this F1 career mode. So it's definitely not going to be an easy task to, of course, go and compete for this championship by any means, but I was hopeful, of course, that we could still find a way, coming up just short of a World Drivers title in the last episode last season there with the McLaren team. And the reason I was, so easily convinced to leave McLaren is I honestly didn't know if McLaren was going to treat us as, equal to Daniel Ricciardo after, let's be honest, we got taken to school by Daniel Ricciardo in that last season that we just did. So I just felt like we needed to get out of that team while we could, and Toto Wolff convinced us to come over to Mercedes and replace the 7-time world champion that retired of Lewis Hamilton here, and hopefully we can find ourselves at the top here now, as we're going up against a world champion again here of Valtteri Bottas, who won the world championship back in season 1 of this career mode. So we know it's going to be tough to beat Valtteri Bottas as well. We're going up still against a tough challenge here now, as we would get some practice laps under our belt here in the first race of the season, which is the Imola GP. Only 10 races on the season, like I mentioned here, so not a lot of time to get stuff done, and it's simply because of the close or very quickly approaching F1 22 that releases in about 1 month here from the time of recording this year. So definitely we're going to crank this out here, hopefully get an episode out every 2 to 3 days and get this final season complete and get ready and gear up for F1 22. And I've already got a whole storyline planned out where we're going to have, of course, the usual F1 career mode, but it's going to be combined with not only the driver career mode, but as well my team career mode is going to come in as well, and you'll see what I mean when it comes around and when it's time for that to happen. We come through though into qualifying, and unfortunately it was pouring rain and I just barely squeezed into the top 15. Now with this Mercedes car, we're expected anywhere around the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th place area with this car, with the pace that we currently have here, with a lot of work to do in this R&D, but unfortunately in the pouring rain has never been my strong suit, and I've certainly proven that here, and you can see on my second lap here in Q2 dealing with some slower traffic, and I was in 15th place once again, just not able to get the speed that I need in this car in the pouring rain conditions. And it would certainly hurt us, because on this second lap, which would be my best lap, I would come through out of the final turn. We had found about 0.4 of a second better than our last lap. We lose some time coming to the line, but we only go P13, and we would actually drop to P14, which means we are out in Q2 as our teammate Valtteri Bottas, a whole second better, advances into Q3. We have some work to do now, not only getting this car better, but higher on the grid in this GP. Let's go to the race.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. 3.1 miles of track here at Imola, featuring 19 turns, 9 to the right and 10 to the left. Remember that Imola differs from most other Formula One circuits as it's driven anti-clockwise. Let's hope no one forgets that today. The exit from turn 18 will probably be the setup for many of today's overtakes, leading as it does into the longest straight of the circuit and its only DRS zone. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice, and they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Gasly, Tsunoda, Daniel Ricciardo and Vettel, Stroll, Giovinazzi, Bottas and Charles Leclerc, Sainz, Lundgaard, Nobuharu Matsushita, the Golden Boy, Russell, Mick Schumacher, Esteban Ocon and Nicholas Latifi, Joe and Callum Ilott. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
There you saw the starting grid here as we are ready to go lights out and underway from this Imola GP, this opening race of this final season of this F1 2021 driver career mode here as we're getting ready to go 14th place off the grid. So it's going to be a tough day here in Imola, but hopefully we can have a little bit of chaos. Every time we come to this track, there's been some chaos a part of it, so I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like that again here now as we are ready to go lights out. It's a Red Bull lockout on the front row with Verstappen and Norris here as it's going to be lights out, and we are underway for this Imola GP here now. As you can see, Verstappen gets off very well off the grid there. You can see the AlphaTauris take up row number 2, the McLarens of Ricciardo, the defending world drivers champion, and now his new teammate, the 4-time world champion of Vettel there on row number 3, as Carlos Sainz has gone for a spin in turn 1. You see his teammate there of Charles Leclerc slow as well. I'm not sure if there was some contact with him, but big issues for the Spaniard in the opening moments of the season here. Carlos Sainz way off the pace now as you see some side-by-side battles here, as you see Pierre Gasly ahead of both Ricciardo as well as Yuki Tsunoda now, as that's actually Sebastian Vettel that's gotten past Ricciardo and moved up a few spots as well here. Ricciardo right there gets a little bit slow. You see some big damage there to the front end of our teammate Valtteri Bottas's car. He's immediately pulling off the circuit, and Bottas is going to be out of the race on this opening lap of the Imola GP. Too much damage to continue. You see the replay, he plows into the back of one of the BMWs, the debut for BMW here in Formula 1, and it's a big shunt right there from Bottas, and he is going to be out of this GP. Here's what happened as well to Carlos Sainz on the start. Up the inside of Valtteri Bottas, and there's going to be contact right there, and around he goes. Now, fortunately though for Carlos, he does remain in this GP. Now, as you can see at the conclusion of this first lap, a virtual safety car had actually come out, so nobody passing anybody here. You see the yellow flags waving here, so we were just waiting for that VSC to end, and that would end towards the end of this second lap. And I didn't know if DRS was going to be activated on lap 3 or not because of the VSC, but we actually would have DRS activated as soon as we began this third lap here. Now I'm going to actually try and make a move on Callum Ilott. You know, we started P14, well, we dropped to P17 on this opening lap. Not the start I was looking for here in this GP, and it wasn't actually because I got off the grid slowly. It was because I was just trying to avoid all the chaos here. As you can see at the end of this third lap, actually both AlphaTauris coming to the pit lane. That's Gasly and Tsunoda. They both had some contact on the lap prior, and they had to both repair the front wings, so they were both set way behind now here, especially Yuki Tsunoda, who would have to wait for Gasly now. But you can see it's just a big just group of cars right here all stacked up together, and I didn't know what to do at this point, just other than being cautious and making sure we get through this disaster now around the outside of Christian Lundgaard right there in the Porsche Williams. So up into P12 we go, and just by keeping our nose clean, we're so far moving our way through the grid pretty well here, as we would also pass Nicholas Latifi in his first race with that Haas F1 team a little bit wide there in turn 1. Haas have made some R&D improvements, so definitely watch out for them. As you can see, Lando Norris on lap 5 with help from DRS actually makes a pass on Max Verstappen, and then Max Verstappen would fall way off a few laps later. Sebastian Vettel, who's setting a very quick pace, would blow right on past Max Verstappen in that McLaren Vodafone as well, as we were continuing to try and work our way through this grid up into the top 10, now to the left hand side of George Russell, and we're going to make a pass right there, move up into P8, and then of course we're trying to run down Matsushita right here in the Williams, so a debut for the rookie. We're going to pass him as well, and we would just continue moving forward, setting a nice pace here on the soft compound tire now up into P7, and green flag pit stops were about to get underway for the leaders. We were staying out a little bit longer. We're going to go about a lap 14 or so and try and stretch it out and then put on the hard compound tire, just a one-stop strategy to the end. But we get past Ocon as well as Charles Leclerc, and Ricciardo was into the pits, and then Sebastian Vettel had run down Lando Norris and then actually pitted before Lando Norris as well as Ricciardo did. So Vettel looking for the undercut right here. As you can see, Verstappen makes his pit stop. He was able to get out in front of me easily, and then I would come into the pit lane at the conclusion of lap 13. But with Sebastian Vettel doing the undercut. He would take the lead of the GP. Lando Norris would drop down into second place as we come in, put on the hard compound tire, our first and hopefully only pit stop of this first race of the season here in Imola. Now, as if we can come out of this with a top 10, would be pretty happy. There's already been a fair share of chaos in this race as we exit the pits just behind Esteban Ocon, and we would pass him and actually move back up into P7 as the whole pit cycle eventually had made its course and everything was cycled through now. So P7 was where we were stacked up, but surprisingly here, Lando Norris in second place makes a very uncharacteristic error on lap 17. He would go for a spin all on his lonesome, and here comes Daniel Ricciardo, who's going to actually take that second position away as well. So it's a McLaren 1-2, Red Bull 3-4 now, instead of the other way around, kind of like what we expected. But at the end of lap 17, I wasn't realizing it, but here comes the two BMWs, Lance Stroll, my fellow Canadian, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Both were setting blistering paces here. I had nothing for them. Stroll goes on by. Here goes Giovinazzi's going to send one on the inside of Stroll. They're going to make some contact here in turn 2 as well, and there might have been some damage, and yes there was. Giovinazzi at the end of lap 18 comes into the pit lane, and he actually has to fix some wing damage there on that BMW, but nonetheless, we are seeing some speed out of that BMW team here in their debut. Lap 19 now, Yuki Tsunoda runs into some issues here in some contact with the Alpine. He goes into the gravel right there, and unfortunately another setback for the Japanese driver there for the AlphaTauri team, as he would have to, of course, come in and fix some damage once again. Not the day Yuki Tsunoda has been looking for AlphaTauri in general, with Pierre Gasly having his issues as well. And that was first, 19 laps of what chaos you could call it, but then things really calmed down for the rest of the GP after this here now, and we just kind of got into our groove, trying to run down Leclerc, who got passed by Stroll as well. But unfortunately, I was closing in on Leclerc, now down to 7 seconds and just a little bit less, but I just didn't have enough time to go and run down Charles Leclerc, and unfortunately, blue flags. Well, I'm getting lapped by the car I left because I thought Mercedes could do better than McLaren. Well, we're being proven wrong. We may have honestly made a mistake coming to this Mercedes team in this final season because, well, you can see on this final lap of the GP now, here comes Daniel Ricciardo, my former teammate, defending world champion, now about to put us a lap down as well. Like I said, we went to Mercedes because I didn't feel like we could get equal treatment to Daniel Ricciardo, especially after last season, as well as I thought Mercedes had the potential to outpace McLaren by the way the end of that season was going. But with the R&D changes, with the regulations that we saw, it has set Mercedes back, and we are paying the price, at least in race 1. But I mean, even though it's not a great GP for us, it's still a 7th place finish, and if we can make some more improvements, we could get this car to be very competitive for podiums and maybe even race wins, hopefully early enough to compete for the World Drivers' Championship and the Constructors. But Sebastian Vettel wins the season opener over Daniel Ricciardo, who will get P2, and it's going to be Lando Norris rounding up the podium eventually when he comes around in 3rd place, and a P7 for us, a lap down. This is the first time we've been lapped, and you don't expect to be a lap down when you finish in 7th place. What a weird GP, a chaotic first opening start to this season as Esteban Ocon wins Driver of the Day. Let's head to the podium celebrations here in Imola.
A beautiful performance from McLaren today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure, and no doubt they'll be celebrating tonight.
There you saw the podium celebrations now. As right now in this very moment, I'm regretting right now leaving McLaren. Like I said, kind of thought Mercedes was going to do better, but certainly so far at least not the case now. But let's hope for the best. Pierre Gasly, Valtteri Bottas here, 2 retirements on the day. I didn't show Gasly's, but his was actually just a simple mechanical failure that took him out of the GP. So that does it for the first episode of this final season of this F1 Career Mode, and you can see we got some upgrades on the way, some very needed upgrades, and we go actually into Portimao for the Portuguese GP in the next episode, where hopefully myself and Bottas can bring a little bit more pace with some more upgrades as well. but we got Monaco and Azerbaijan and my home track of Canada as the next few races after Portugal. So there's some exciting races on the schedule that I am looking forward to, but like I said, we need upgrades and we need to fight for wins as quick as we possibly can because we start the season certainly on the outside looking in. That does it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one for the second race of this final season. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, everybody.